Well, my name is Markus Harrer, and actually what I'm doing is trying to help people with their older and elder software systems. And there we also need to talk about software architecture and how we can bring software systems into the future. And one tool I'm using for this is Wardley Maps. Maybe you are familiar already with Wardley Maps. So just a quick question around here. How familiar are you with Wardley Maps? So 1, 2, 3, or 4. So do you have no clue at all what Wardley Maps is? Oh, nice. Have you already seen a Wardley map? Did you already try it? The third one here. Or are you using it all the time? Or who is writing a book about Wardley maps? So we have to speak about it later on. Yeah, but that's the picture I'm seeing here. And I think the explanation is, that Wardley maps is actually really hard to learn. So first of all, there are numbers out there that say that you need 7 years to learn it in the end. So 6 years and 11 months of saying, I really need to learn the stuff. And actually, 1 month to actually doing it. So I have around 30 minutes to introduce you to Wardley Maps, and hopefully I can bring you so much information into your heads that you can start doing it in the end. So what makes it hard? Well, Wardley isn't actually a term in the English language. Wardley is the surname of the inventor, Simon Wardley, thought lord, mapper, tuner developer, destroyer of undeserved value. And he actually created this tool for several reasons. He's also describing himself as lawful, chaotic evil, and often good. And this is where actually, Wardley Maps is fitting pretty good into this kind of characterization. Often good because his first goal with Wardley Maps was to create a tool for everybody to be able to work on strategy together. So you can sit together with your team members and talk about how should we evolve our software system, how should we bring our stuff into the future in the end. And the more or less lawful, chaotic evil aspect here is the second goal. He wanted to get rid of management consultants. So his idea is to provide a tool that everyone can use because, you in your company, you know the best way how to evolve your software systems, but you don't have a tool to do this. So Wardley Map comes right into play. So for you, a tool to use within your own company in the end. And his approach is to do this also in the open. So he's building a community around of Wardley mappers out of in the internet, in the community. So everything he's talking about, he's creating, and the community is creating in the end, is open source, open community, and so on. So this makes it a really nice fit for adopting it by yourself, for example. So the question is, what's in for you as a developer? Of course, those kind of stuff here, the strategic planning, decision-making, improving communication with business people, for example. But there's more. So I'm using Wardley Maps, for example, for the buzzwording. So if someone says, hey, we have to move to the cloud, we have to build some verticals in our software system, I always can try to figure out what they actually mean by using a Wardley map. There's even more. I can avoid wasting time. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So I can actually list all the components that I have and try to figure out what I can outsource, for example. And the third one, which is a special kind of thing that I really like on Wardley Maps, you can actually play games with others. That doesn't mean with your colleagues, but with your competitors on the market. But we'll go into details later on. So that's a nice plus. Again, to all the stuff above, strategic planning, decision-making, and improving communication in the end. So talking about Wardley Maps without showing a Wardley map is really hard. And I don't know how to do it better than just showing you the complete picture of a Wardley map. So here it is, a Wardley map. I needed a reason to use this PowerPoint transition here. So that's Wardley Map, but what can we actually see here? Actually, we see a online photo service. That's our scope that we want to map. We see users that are at the center of a Wardley map. So we are always keeping in our heads that there is a user out there that needs our software system in the end and needs to do some stuff. So this stuff is the second one. These are the user's needs in the end. So maybe a photographer wants to edit photos, store photos, print photos, and so on. And then we can ask, what do we need to provide to fulfill those needs? And these are the components in the end. We need to provide a website. We need to have a customer management system, and so on and so on. So the more to the user-facing kind of components on the top, and the others on the bottom, the things that are under the hood in the end of our software system. And this is what we call in the end a value chain. Well, we will get into details later on. But we're also talking about evolution. So which kind of stuff can we do very good? And which kind of things, which are the things that we have still to figure out how they're working? So on the left side are more or less the things that we can do actually very good. And on the right side, these are the things that we are really good at. And we can also then, if we have such a map, speak about what we want to do with all the components on the map. So maybe we want to evolve or modernize our operating platform, for example. And there we see maybe obstacles that are between those. So we can talk about it, how we can circumvent this kind of problems here and figure out a plan at the end and make this obvious with this kind of visualization. So much theory. So let's map. So we start here with a use case that I think everyone knows here. We want to map, a conference in the end. So this is our scope. It's very important to, don't map everything that you can do, but having a narrow scope is really helpful to get focused and to create a clear Wardley map in the end. So a question is not bad to have to start here. So how can we deliver a great developer conference? That's our scope that we want to map. And then we can try to figure out who are the users. So for example, we could start by users, but the more specific you get here at the beginning, the better the Wardley map and the end result will be later on. So we are talking about stakeholders, visitors, and entities. And then we say, developers are the ones. For those, we want to create a Wardley map. So let's put them at the center here at the top. And the next step is, what are the needs of users? Here, developers. Actually, what do we want to have here on the WeAreDevelopers Congress? We want to have fun, of course. But fun is not something that your employer wants to buy a ticket for. So we have to have a good reason. So in the end, actually developer needs new ideas here for listening to talks like this or others. So that could be a great reason. Or you want to learn about new tools. That's another need that you have when you want to visit a conference. Or you want to connect with other people, get connected on LinkedIn or via the WeAreDevelopers app. And if you're older, like me, you actually want a decent amount of sleep at the night, which actually doesn't work. But that's my need, of course. So let's focus again. Don't try to map everything. We're just focusing on getting new ideas. And then we can ask the question, what do we need to provide to get those needs fulfilled, of course. So we are trying to figure out the components that are actually important. So maybe blog posts could actually also be kind of a way to get new ideas. Articles in a magazine, conferences, of course, or ChatGPT as a buddy for getting to innovate and so on. And again, we want to focus. Just take the conference here. And next step would be, what are the other needs? So what does a conference need, of course? So this is kind of a chain of needs that we are building at first here. So just by asking, what does X need? We see a conference, of course, needs talks. You guessed it. Talks need rooms, obviously. We need a venue like this. We need property, territory, state, borders. All right. That's not good. So we have to scope again. So this is something that really happens very easily. You get lost in a Wardley map when you try to mapping. So let's refocus. It's important to ask the question, what are we trying to achieve with our map? What do we want to visualize in the end? So let's try another one here. Talks, we need speakers, obviously. Speakers need content. Content needs ideas. And where do ideas come from in the end? From experience. So speakers have experience. So this is actually needed to provide a talk for a conference. And this is what we have here, so visualized in the end. We also need a presentation tool, for example, like PowerPoint or Keynote. And this also needs experience. And there you see, when you are discussing this kind of components within your teams, that there might be some different understandings of certain components that you're just trying to map here. So we are speaking about experience here on the left side, working experience. And on the right side, more on entertainment skills that are needed for a speaker to deliver a talk where people can actually get new ideas from. So that's what we call a value chain. Why value chain? Because it actually depicts how valuable something is for the people that we are trying to make happy in the end. So developers actually take a look at the conference, take a look at the talks and speakers and so on, but they are also taking a look at contents in the end, because this is really important to make a decision if I go to the conference or not. So far so good. This is how the first part works if you want to create a Wardley map, building a value chain. But the second part is to figure out what we need to evolve and where do we actually invest some time and money. But before we getting into this, it's your turn. So I have a question for you, of course, again. I have a component here, Kubernetes, a platform for deploying, scaling, and managing containerized applications. And we have a value chain where we can actually try to position this kind of component. We can do it here, down below. So 1 second in the middle, or 3, a little bit above here in this value chain. And the question is, where do you want to place this component? So what's your gut feeling here? So who's for 1 again? Okay. Who's for 2? Oh, there are software architects here, I think. I heard something here, 2, okay, and 3. So congratulations, you're all right. So your remark was, it depends a little bit of who is the user. And that's exactly the question, that if you don't actually ask this, you cannot build up a value chain in the end. You are always oriented towards a specific user. That's the right answer again. So the value depends on the user in the end. So if you have a customer of your e-commerce shop, then Kubernetes is down below here. If you have a developer, maybe they get some value out of Kubernetes because they don't need to export their binaries manual in their integrated development environment also. And of course, if you have a Kubernetes developer advocate, he directly gets value from speaking good about Kubernetes, let's put it this way. So it highly depends, again, who you see as a user in the end. Yeah, that's right. So what? So nice that we can put some circles and lines on a PowerPoint slide, but what does it actually bring you, or what's the benefit of doing this in the end? So just by building a value chain, you can figure out something like, oh, there are some parts that everyone sees because there's immediate value for all stakeholders that are using or building our software system. And of course, the other part is there are some parts here where you actually don't see as a user what it actually provides as a value. So you have deep down some technical stuff, infrastructure stuff that it's really hard for a developer, hard to motivate for when you want to start a modernization project, for example. So everyone gives you money for the stuff above. If you say, we have to create a new user experience for our website, absolutely no problem. But down below, when you say, we want to switch our database platform, well, nobody cares in the end, at least not from the business side of your company in the end. So that's my first tip. So if you have this in mind, that you have always to think about your users and the customers, the people that are using your software system, you can actually change your communication style in a certain way. So in this case, for example, if you want to sell Kubernetes, you want to introduce this kind of technology in the company, and you say, we need Kubernetes because we have tech stuff A, then it's connected to... So nobody understands it, what you really want to have here. So this leaves question marks in the eyes of a product manager, for example. So you have little awareness about this, of course. But if you pick something very specific that's really important for your business in the end, like dynamic scheduling of containers and so on, and you connect this to an immediate need that provides value to your customer, like handling dynamic peak loads, you get a more direct view of the certain component that you want to introduce in your company. And this helps you actually to create high awareness for the stuff you want to introduce within your software development team or within your company in the end. So keep in mind, even if it's down below here, if you're trying to bring here some more direct dependencies between different components here on such a map, it is better to immediately visualize that there might be some value even deep down below in the tech stack that you're using. So what I just talked about are users, needs, components, purpose, scope, whatever, value. And we have to speak about the other two parts here that I want to introduce you to, which is our patterns and the evolution axis. So we can do it really quick because you already know a part of the evolution axis. I asked you at the beginning of the talk, how familiar are you with Wardley Maps in the end? And this is something that we call here the consumer's view of a component, which resembles kind of the demand a little bit. So this is one component of the evolution. And the other component is, how good can I deduce something? So how good can I, for example, write a human assistant that's based on artificial intelligence, for example? So this is the supply kind of view here. And the idea is that Simon Wardley has here with the evolution axis that software systems actually move from left to right in the end. So at the end, when you are building a new product, you have absolutely no idea what you're doing and that someone actually needs the stuff here. So this is something that he calls more or less Genesis phase. Then your product is more successful. You see how you can build it. The first users or customers are coming and are buying your stuff. Then you go into custom build. Later on, you are successful. You go to product and rental. And later on, it's so successful that you have to actually create a cloud service, for example, with a high demand and for the mass market in the end. So these are the stages where you can, again, additional to the value chain, also put in your component regarding the evolution or maturity of a software component in the end that you have. So there are cheat sheets out there if you want to go into details, but that's not the time for this. It's more about gut feeling here again. So another question for you, Kubernetes, where would you put this component? So is it more a Genesis, custom build, product, or commodity? So who's for one again? So Kubernetes custom build, maybe, yeah. There's someone who doesn't like it, I think. Product, is Kubernetes a product? Or is it for a commodity? Yeah, so it depends a little bit, but it's not a trick question here. I would put it, to, I would say 3.2 or something like. A major component. And of course, we can look what is right besides Kubernetes. It's, for example, Amazon Elastic Kubernetes, which is a service that provides the capability of Kubernetes from a wall socket, so to speak. So let's say I don't like Kubernetes. I want to build my own container platform. Why not? Don't know, maybe it's a good idea. So this is an example of what I would actually put here. Maybe I have first customers who don't know about the other stuff here. And the fourth one, my knowledge about Kubernetes, maybe it's here. I don't know this stuff. What is this? So it's more or less characteristics for a Genesis phase. So again, so what? So what does it actually bring you as a value as a developer? So you can do your first analysis here again. So let's introduce not only the evolution axis here, but add the value chain that we had before. And put those little components along the value chain too. Then you can figure out if this makes sense to you build, for example, your own container platform, of course. You can ask questions like, is it a good investment to run it? Because on the right side, there's always a standard product waiting for me that I can actually use later on. Maybe not. Or if I'm providing a service that it's based on a product-like component, like we have here, I can actually think about, maybe it's a little bit not so stable, maybe a little bit unreliable if I'm providing a service that it's based on a component that's not so much evolved. Maybe I get involved into this project to bring this kind of component a little bit forward towards to the right. So that could be a possible next step for you. Or if you are introducing Kubernetes in your company, you can also depict that you maybe don't have knowledge about how to run this. And then you can figure out, or visualize at least, we need some training here because Kubernetes, it needs some knowledge about to get successful here into providing a stable environment for our applications in the end. So these are the kinds of discussions that you can do. You can even decide then, do you want to build and run your own? Do you want to improve certain components because you don't see on the right side some competitors? Maybe you want to enter into a new market, or you want to outsource completely kind of services. You don't want to reuse stuff because it's not your core business, for example. So these are kind of the analysis that you can do again. So let's map again our little example of how we can get to a great developer conference. So what we can do is the next question. So we have the components from before. So let's get rid of some details and let's move all the components to the right and left. So let's add the needs dependencies again and take a look what we have here. For example, working experience. This is out there. So I think we have several thousand years of experience here in this room combined. This is why I put this here on a far right side here, almost commodity-like. But ideas are really rare in the end. But I need ideas because otherwise I cannot cannot actually organize a great conference in the end. So the next step is, we want to figure out what we can actually do to get more and more speakers here with great content that actually are about great ideas. So let's take a look at this, how we can actually modernize our strategy and bring our conference into the future. So you want to have this kind of picture, moving ideas more to a product-like component. Because then we have plenty of speakers that we can select and we can do an even bigger conference like this one. So moving content forward, we see, we can do this actually maybe by providing open spaces. So this is actually a pattern that is also part of the Wardley mapping environment, which is called open approaches. So why not share ideas in an open space? Why not getting out there with ideas? We don't know if someone needs this as well, and getting others into play, for example, to share their ideas and to discuss what we can do about this. That would be a nice option that we can do here. Or we can, create a hackerspace here where people can share their little libraries. Maybe some grassroots activities are growing out there for where other people want to contribute to your open source system, for example, to your open source library. That could be a case. So building alliances could be something that moves ideas more towards the right here, to the more evolved state. So these are some patterns, for example, that fall into this lawful good kind of category. But if we are a competitor on the market and we want to have the biggest conference out there in the world, we can go to this conference, for example, and say, let's manipulate this kind of moving forward of ideas by introducing some inertia, some blockers that prevent the ideas from evolving into more product-like characteristics. For example, we can think about sending just complete idiots here to the hacking areas. So they disturb the field. They say everything you do is rubbish here. This is called insertion. So manipulating some communities to prevent them from innovating in the end. Or you can also claim to have plenty of ideas. You say, oh, those ideas about I had it before in 1980, for example. You don't have to care about this idea. Everything is settled, everything is fine. Don't invest your time to bring this idea forward. So this is something like signal distortion, another pattern that you can use here to prevent others from moving along with their ideas and sharing their ideas, for example. You just encourage them in the end. And this is something that's called chaotic evil, two patterns from the category chaotic evil that you can also use to somehow influence the market of the conference space, for example. So these are gameplays. And this is pretty cool to have and to know about and to figure out your own way, where you want to move and how you want to move into the future in the end. So let me just tell you an example from real life. I don't have much time for this, but what is a typical use case where I'm using Wardley Maps here? So I had once a client who had something like this, which is a monitoring panel where you can actually restart all the processes of your software system very efficiently in the end. So just click on force quit if something is not working anymore or not responding. And somehow the development team had the idea that they wanted to evolve this kind of admin panel to even be better, to get a nice overview, to get a better user experience, to start servers or applications and services more efficiently in the end. So we try to figure it out, does it make sense or not, and build it up a value chain in a reverse engineering order, so to speak. So what do we want to do with the admin panel? Restart servers efficiently. They wanted actually respond to users' complaints. And why? They wanted to make users happy as developers. But think about it. If you want to evolve this kind of behavior, I don't think this is a good idea. Because you can always look on the right side here. What's the new standard? What are the new practices? What are new tools actually that let us go more easy into the future in the end? And there can actually come up with ideas like, maybe respond to user complaints is not the best way. Let alert on errors, for example. What does it need? We need to detect DE problems earlier. What does this need? Monitoring, which would be a second kind of thing. So with this map, we questioned, if it's good to invest in the admin panel, or not. So here we have the answer. Actually, it's not a good idea. But speaking and making this kind of communication transparent to your team members, it's a nice thing to do because maybe other ideas emerge from this. So maybe you want to avoid problems completely. Maybe you want to have self-feeding systems, and maybe you want to introduce a self-managed Kubernetes cluster. That would be even more evolved here on the right side, because actually alerting on errors is not the up-to-date practice that you can use. Maybe you want to, if you want to get rid of the admin panel anyways, move to a better approach that it's more towards the product commodity like evolution stage. So this is how you can use actually Wardley mapping in your team to actually make assumptions more transparent, to speak about stuff that's deep under the hood of a software system. So this is why I like Wardley mapping, especially for these kind of discussions. So let me conclude some tips for getting started. Keep the expectations real. So if you want to do Wardley mapping in your own environment, this is what you have. You have a mess. So this is what you have to face. You cannot map everything. Scope is actually the key. Just pick one thing that's really important to you and focus on this one. And then, of course, you can look up the slides, care about the users, their needs, components, build first a value chain, for example, to figure out what is, again, really important for users. And then you can look at how major are some components by introducing the idea of evolution. So demand competition and supply competition, that is something that you have to keep in mind here. So you move components from left to right, for example. And then, if you have this kind of map and you do it consistently, you can apply patterns. You can take a look at the map. So what is actually coming in front of me? What is the future? How is the environment where I am evolved and so on? So this is what you can also do. And this is where real fun actually begins. So if you can build a consistent Wardley map for your special problems that you have, and you're applying patterns, it actually feels like playing chess with your competitors, more or less. They can see that only you can see the board where all the figures are on. So in the end, it's a nice tool. You can also have the slides, of course, after this talk. And there are plenty of additional resources where you can take a look into more detail, in the very details of the Wardley map. So Wardley map, a visual communication tool for strategic thinking, create situational awareness, plan and communicate a strategy, evolve your software systems, and improve the way you're working. But always keep in mind, you cannot build the perfect map because, for example, the perfect map of Berlin would be Berlin itself. Try to use Wardley maps, but always keep in mind, Wardley mapping is a model that you can use, but all models are wrong, but some are useful. So thank you for being here, and I hope you can figure out how you can use Wardley maps in your own environment. Thank you.